Hello, it's Andy here, and welcome to episode 5 of my Sans 2018 Holiday Hack Walkthrough. At the end of the last episode, it looked like things at KringleCon were about to take a turn for the worse, with the toy soldiers locking the doors, trapping everyone inside. Our next challenge is to retrieve a zip file from the North Pole Git repository and find out its password. Maybe this will give some clues as to what the toy soldiers are up to. As always, one of Santa's elves can point us in the right direction in return for a little assistance with the Cranberry Pie Terminal Challenge. This time it's Oneos OpenSlay, who's unable to submit some reports because he's forgotten a password and wants us to recover it. I'm not quite sure why Oneos is so concerned about filing reports when the toy soldiers have started to revolt, but let's give him a hand anyway in case we need his help later. Once inside the terminal, we see Oneos needs to upload report.txt onto the following share. The report is in the current directory. Let's see what happens if we just try connecting to that share straight away using the smb client command. Well, we're after a password, which we don't have, and a blank password gives us an access denied. Let's take a look and see what's running on this machine using PS. At the bottom, we can see the processes associated with the Samba file server, and just above, we have the processes associated with the console session we're running right now. Then there's some Python scripts, which I'm guessing are part of the game systems to check if we've successfully completed the challenge or not. The first few items are the most interesting. A script called Samba Wrapper. Perhaps this script is used to launch or configure the Samba server, so it could contain configuration items or other clues as to what the password for the file server is. There's a lot of arguments to this script, too many to see in this view, and so we can add the ww option to the end of our ps command to show all information, even if it needs to wrap across multiple lines. Perhaps we can see a reference to a config file here. No config files mentioned, but this string here is interesting. It seems like a festive twist on a certain well-known XKCD comic on the topic of password strength. It's also immediately followed by a -u parameter, which is how we'd usually specify the username in Samba-related commands. Unfortunately, the Samba wrapper script is located in another user's home directory, so we'll probably not have permissions to open it and see if these parameters definitely do relate to the username and password we're looking for. But there's no harm in trying our Samba connection again using this possible password. I also chose to add the -u option to log in as the report upload user, as Oneos did say that the elves used a shared account for this purpose. And we appear to be in. And an attempt to upload Oneos' report is successful. With that out of the way, we can now turn our attention to the main task of breaking into the zip file contained in the North Pole Git repository. Reading the information about the Git repository, we can find out that it contains code to manage a fleet of quadcopter drones designed to increase the efficiency of delivering presents to children on Christmas Eve. We also see a message from Shinny just above the installation instructions. Shinny's message makes reference to this repo having previously contained some sensitive data. Unfortunately, this problem is all too common outside the North Pole too, but at least Shinny thinks that he has removed all the sensitive details. I guess we'll see. Now to locate that zip file. We can use the search functionality for this, and can see there's just a single zip file in this repo, which appears to be a schematic of the ventilation system at Santa's castle. We can download this file, but just as our objective suggested, the contents are protected by a password. Maybe the password was one of those secrets that Shinny thinks she's managed to remove all trace of. Being a code repository, Git doesn't just record the current contents of files, but also full details of exactly what has been changed with each update, including previous versions, so that we can roll back to a previous date if someone uploads a code update which breaks things. So let's start by looking through the list of commits for anything useful, especially those commits which make reference to deleting or cleaning, and in particular config files, as these are more likely to contain passwords or API keys. After a few false starts, we hit jackpot with a private RSA key. This doesn't help us directly access the ventilation zip file, as we need a password, not an RSA key, but we'll definitely keep a note of this for later, as it could certainly come in handy for one of the other objectives. Then, in the very next commit, we find a notice in a text file which has been deleted. Like the key before it, this file no longer exists in the current branch of the Git repository, but Git retains a record of it in case it needs to be restored. It says that the password used to protect their most sensitive files has to be changed, and helpfully tells us what it is. We can then try extracting the contents of the zip file again using this password, and we're successful. There's two files, both images, which appear to be maze-like maps. These will probably come in handy later, but for now we can submit the zip file passwords as our answer for this objective. In addition to getting a nice green tick against this objective, we also have a little more narrative. The toy soldiers act even more aggressively. They are searching for something very special inside of Santa's castle, and they will stop at nothing until they find it. Hans seems to be directing their activities. In the main lobby, on the bottom floor of Santa's castle, Hans calls everyone around to deliver a speech. Let's quickly go and see what Hans has to say. Ladies and gentlemen, due to the North Pole's legacy of providing coal as presents around the globe, they are about to be taught a lesson in the real use of power. You will be witness. I have comrades in arms around the world who are languishing in prison. The Elven State Department enjoys rattling its sabre for its own ends. Now it can rattle it for me. The following people are to be released from their captors. In the dungeon for errant reindeer, 7 members of the New Erities Front. In Whoville Prison, the imprisoned leader of Adnus Corporation, Miss Cindy Lou Who. In the Land of Oz, Glinda the Good Witch. Those are the villains who tried to destroy Christmas for each of the last 3 years running. Why is Hans doing this? And what are the toy soldiers looking for? Maybe we'll find out more after objective number 5, which we'll turn to in the next episode. I'll see you there.